president took a series of executive actions, including finalizing regulations, proposing new ones, as well as policy guidance memorandum that perhaps make it difficult for certain people to acquire firearms without passing a background check. So the president has tried and failed to achieve gun control through Congress. So in the twilight waning days of his administration, he's turned to executive action as a way to change and alter our thinking about guns. What they sought to do was to expand the number of people who have to go through background checks, as well as expand the number of people who are added to the background check database who can then be denied the right to bear arms. So on the plus side, the president argues that certain people who are dangerous or perhaps mentally defective should not be having access to guns. And these executive actions make it easier for the government to prohibit people. The downside is that a lot of these mechanisms used to deprive people of their rights lack what's called due process of law, that people aren't given a hearing or some sort of notification or way to contest this prior to the rights being denied. The good aspect of this from the president's perspective is that it doesn't require an act of Congress. He can simply broaden the scope of people who may otherwise have not gone through a background check, and he can rely on the states to augment the National Instant Background Check database so that they can prospectively bar more people from buying guns. So the Second Amendment comes into play is if someone is added to this background check database improperly. They go to a gun store and they can't buy a gun. They are prohibited because someone erroneously added them to this instant background check list. At that moment, their Second Amendment rights are violated automatically. And then they'd have to go to a court to try and get their rights restored. But this is not how our constitutional liberties work. The government needs to tell you before they deprive you of your rights, not give you a hearing after the fact. So one of the most important aspects to remember is that every single incident where a person inflicted carnage through a mass killing, that person would not have been prohibited from buying a gun. None of the actions the president's taken in any way would have stopped those. So in closing, the president's actions in Frank were fairly modest. But what I think he's trying to do is lay the groundwork for future changes coming from the states to alter the manner in which people are denied access to the right to keep and bear arms.